Hello and Minglaba, welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zain. Returnees to Myanmar test positive with COVID-19, total confirmed cases reaching 224. Myanmar government easing lockdown restrictions step by step. And a story coverage on the current bus line operation which accounts for 70% in Yangon. All of that coming up later, but for now let's take a look at what's happening in local news. A total of 60,000 bags for the state's emergency rice reserve have been stored so far in the warehouses in Chaose and Myohan warehouse in Amarapura township of Mandalay, owned by the Department of Consumer Affairs under the Ministry of Commerce, according to Mandalay Supervision Unit, for the storage of emergency rice reserve. The warehouses in Chaose have received to the fullest capacity of 50,599 bags between 3rd and the 26th of May. The remaining 9,401 bags have been systematically stored in Myohan warehouse in Amarapura township since 28th of May. Dr. Tam Mien, Union Minister for Commerce, said in order to ensure the sufficiency during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government will spend 38 billion kyats to purchase foodstuff, 50,000 tons of rice and 12,000 tons of palm oil. The state's emergency rice reserve is to keep the price stable in the domestic market, lessen the worries of the consumers, offer the emergency rice to the people at a much fairer price, ensure food security to the people when a natural disaster occurs, support ASEAN emergency rice reserve and aid the victims in the time of adversity, export them through private entrepreneurs when the new paddy is harvested, and not to harm the rice production of farmers due to the price fall. The supervision units for the storage of an emergency rice reserve are formed in Yangon and Mandalay regions. The government has reserved about 2,200 tons of rice within a month, according to the press statement of Myanmar Rice Federation last Thursday. The government will take action against offshore fishing boats that are illegally operating in the waters of Myanmar via the vessel monitoring system starting from the 1st of June. The decision was made at the meeting of fishing boat owners and agents at the Fisheries Department in Myeik on Saturday. Udetso, Secretary of the Nenai Region Fisheries Federation, said if the device is turned off for the day, the boat owner will be fined 50,000 kyats. He added that a better decision should be made for the boat owners after the ministry and Lutol cooperate on the previous decision. The Nenai coastline, located in the southern part of Myanmar, is the longest coastline of 3 coastlines in Myanmar. It stretches 1,200 kilometers. On the coastline, there are about 1,250 Myeik-based offshore fishing vessels with 25,000 workers, according to the Myeik District Fisheries Department's data in April 2020. According to Mandalay Region Government, Mandalay-based highway buses will resume their services to other states and regions starting the 1st of June, in line with the health guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. The highway bus service within Mandalay Region began on the 15th of May, and now the highway buses are allowed to run to other regions and states from June 1st. The bus lines are mandatory to follow the health guidelines to resume the service. Passengers must wear masks, wash hands, and measure body temperature before boarding the bus. The seating plan ensures to maintain physical distancing, and the buses are instructed to keep the windows open and disinfect the bus before and after boarding passengers. Regional Minister for Shan State Ethnic Affairs said the bus driver and the assistant must follow the rules and instructions to resume the service. To contain the spread of the virus in Mandalay region, all passenger bus lines stopped the service on 7th of April. The regional government has now relaxed restrictions on public transport. During the temporary suspension of international flights, a relief flight by Myanmar National Airlines brought back 151 Myanmar citizens from Singapore as the 6th batch and landed in Yangon International Airport Sunday evening. The Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, Ministry of Health and Sports, and the Yangon Region Government took care of the immigration affairs, health inspections, and 21-day quarantine measures. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working within the guidelines of the National Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 to collaborate with Myanmar embassies and relevant ministries in Singapore to assist Myanmar nationals facing difficulties there to return to Myanmar. With this batch, in total, 873 Myanmar nationals have been repatriated. Yangon, Bansudan to Dalat water ferries will resume as usual starting June 1st, for passengers to be able to travel conveniently according to the Delta Division of the Inland Water Transport. The Pansodon to Dalat jetty is the only gateway for the local people in southern Yangon, Dalat, Tunte, Guamu, Gunjangon townships, and some townships in Ayeyarwady region to link with the commercial city hub of Yangon. However, the operation routes of the water ferries have been reduced from April to May because of the declined number of passengers in the coronavirus outbreak period. 3 cherry water ferries operating between Pansodon and Dalat daily are reopening to provide transportation service as per normal periods starting today, the 1st of June. Moreover, the Z crafts are operating up and down from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., transporting the vehicles and cargoes. The Yangon Pansodon Dalat water ferries are running from 5:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. That's all with the local news. Let's take a look at the first report now. Myanmar has reported 228 confirmed cases, including 6 deaths which remain the same and 130 recoveries after the Ministry of Health and Sports announced that the returnees have tested positive. According to the official data of the Ministry of Health and Sports, all the new cases reported in the country during the past 2 weeks were imported, involving citizens returning from abroad. Pomo and Pyodiridu will tell us more.
The Ministry of Health and Sports reported that Myanmar returnees have tested positive for COVID-19. So far, Myanmar has reported 228 confirmed cases, including 6 deaths and 130 recoveries. All the returnees have to undergo the mandatory 21-day facility quarantine, whether they test positive or negative for the virus. According to the data of the ministry, all the new cases reported in the country during the past 2 weeks were imported, involving citizens returning from abroad. Speaking to My Radio through phone interview about the situation of businesses resuming operation in townships, Unyinyi Region Lotto representative from Takong Myotet South Township said.
Positive ဖြစ်နေတာပေါ့နော်။လို့ဆိုတော့တို့ဒီပြည်တွင်းထဲမှာတို့နိုင်ငံတွင်းထဲမှာတော့
Currently, we have seen that there is no local transmission, but there are still infected people who come back from other countries. We can say that we can control the local transmission, but we have to wait for the announcement from the Ministry of Health and Sports. But we still have to wear the masks, wash the hands, and we have to avoid the crowded places. We have to try to live in a new normal lifestyle. The businesses from most of the townships in Yangon have resumed their operation. But in those townships with crowded population and some industrial zones, we check them whether they are carrying out all the anti-COVID-19 measures and spraying pesticides. The restaurants are really important to participate in our new normal lifestyle. They have to follow social distancing guidance and have to wear face shields and masks while they are serving their customers. We have a plan to find the people who don't follow the restrictions.
The Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment on COVID-19 announced that it will be extending virus prevention measures until 15 June. Thousands of Myanmar migrants who lost their jobs abroad due to the coronavirus are now returning to the country. Dr. Situle, who is the specialist from the Workers' Hospital Yangon, spoke to My Radio how to prepare for the returnees. He said,
We all have seen most of the cases are from the returnees. In this situation, we have to know all the contact person that they have contacted to make checks. But now the Ministry of Health and Sports and the Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement are closely working together to make agreements for the returnees who had returned from foreign countries. We can't say that the spread of the virus comes to an end. But with the participation of the people, we can control well.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs earlier announced the government has prepared quarantine facilities across the country that can accommodate up to 100,000 people. Data based on the survey of anti-COVID-19 measures situation by the ministry showed that the 4 townships, Bahan, Babedan, South Okalapa, and Tamwe have improved activities in controlling and preventing the spread of COVID-19. Speaking to MI Radio about his opinion on anti-COVID-19 measures, U Win-tan, a resident from Kongmu Township, said.
Wearing masks become our daily task when we have to go out. For us, we can buy and wear the surgical mask every day. So I make a homemade usable cloth face mask for the protection. As I'm a worker working in a downtown, I have to communicate with a lot of people. So I take care of my health a lot during this period.
The government is relying on strict quarantining and swift contact tracing to control the virus, which was first detected in the country on 23 March. From 31 January to 29 May, Myanmar has been able to screen 23,951 people for the disease, according to the data from the Ministry of Health and Sports. The global pandemic has spread to 188 countries, killing over 371,288 people and recovering 2,746,144 people, according to Worldometer Coronavirus Resource Center.
And that's a report on the returnees to Myanmar testing positive with COVID-19. Total confirmed cases reaching 228. After no local transmission has been found for over 10 consecutive days and being able to control the quarantine system for overseas returnees, the government is to ease the restrictions gradually. 4 more townships are lifted from semi-lockdown, and the workplaces and schools are allowed to reopen in accordance with health guidelines. Todas Within has more.
After over 2 months of COVID-19 outbreak in Myanmar, the situation is almost returning to normality and the government is easing the restrictions gradually. Although the number of confirmed cases is still counting, the patients turn out to be the overseas returnees who were put into quarantine as they came back. After over 10 days without local transmission and when the workplaces started to run, the government is trying to get back to normal status step by step for the convenience of the public. To contain the spread of the virus, 10 townships from Yangon region and 1 from Rakhine region were placed on semi-lockdown, and 5 of them have already been lifted from the semi-lockdown. According to the announcement released on the 28th of May, 4 more townships are allowed to be removed from semi-lockdown, so 9 out of 11 townships are free again. The 4 new townships to be lifted from semi-lockdown are Bahan, South Glaba, Babadan, and Damwe.
ဒီပါကပြန်လာတဲ့လူတွေကပဲဟိုဒီ COVID-19 နဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့ရောဂါပိုးတွေ့ရှိရတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့ဆရာတို့ကဟိုတတိကိုတော့
We cannot stay careless just because there is no local transmission, and the increasing number of confirmed cases are the overseas returnees. It needs to be reminded that every citizen cannot be tested and there may be secret carriers. As everyone knows, it is a human-to-human communicable disease, so we still have to be strict about the basic health guidelines by the Ministry of Health and Sports.
Living in one of the townships free from semi-lockdown, Dongmumwe from South Glaba Township talk about the current situation of the residents.
After easing the restriction, there's more people going outside, and especially more people can be seen at the market than before. But almost everyone is wearing masks and take care of themselves.
Besides lifting from semi-lockdown, the government also allows gatherings of over 5 persons for the following cases: working at government departments, companies, factories, workplaces, and organizations, opening basic schools, private schools, and monastery schools, holding meetings and trainings at workplaces in accordance with the health guidelines by the Ministry of Health and Sports, reopening and dining in at the allowed restaurants, working at essential workplaces and essential services for the public. The basic schools are to reopen in late July, which is about 2 months later than the normal academic year. Despite these cases, the mass gatherings for other purposes will be still banned and the cinemas will be still closed until the 15th of June.
The restrictions are eased not only in our country but also across the world. The purpose of easing lockdown or any other restriction is to remedy the socio-economic impacts caused during the restricted period. It is necessary to do so, but step by step. However, we can see that in some countries, after easing the restrictions, the number of positive patients rise again. As people are free from restrictions, there is more risk of virus spread from one to another. So the public have to take care of oneself by following the basic health guidelines such as wearing masks, washing hands, and practicing social distancing. If so, there is no way of the cases to become uncontrollable. It has fewer chances to eliminate COVID-19 absolutely. So even after the restrictions are relieved to get back to normal status, the most important matter now is the self-awareness of the public.
At present, under the leadership of National Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19, where State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi is serving as chairperson, the quarantine procedures for overseas returnees are going on systematically and the public awareness programs are speeded up. That's all for now. This is Dora Susan from MI Radio.
That's a report on Myanmar government easing lockdown restrictions step by step. We have more reports for you on Myanmar Today. Stay tuned. The Yangon Region Transport Authority is now drawing a plan for the Yangon transport sector depending on probability beyond COVID-19. The current operation of the passenger bus lines accounts for 70%. At the end of April, the travels of the commuters accounted for around 20%. Zoeman and Pieting will tell us more.
The Yangon Region Transport Authority (YRTA) is now drawing a plan for Yangon transport sector depending on probability beyond COVID-19. The current operation of passenger bus lines accounts for 70%. The World Health Organization (WHO) announced that COVID-19 was named as global pandemic during March. After that, the travels of the people saw a declining position since the public gathering was banned. The government also issued an announcement stating 10 to 19 April was designated as homestay period. That's why at that time everyone seldom traveled. However, the travel rose back a little from 20 April to its end. There were more than 1 million commuters a day before COVID-19 outbreak. At the end of April, the travels of the commuters accounted for around 20%. From the end of April to May, the operation of bus line returned to 40 to 50%. The number of commuters did not rise. Ula Aung, Joint Secretary of Yangon Region Transport Authority (YRTA) said,
YVS buses currently operational are more than 3,100 and the commuter numbers are more than 530,000. The bus operation accounts for nearly 70%, but the commuter numbers account for 20 to 30%. In the past, one YBS bus could carry almost 700 commuters, but today just over 300. We cannot receive management costs except the charge of fuel and labor, as the number of commuters taking the YBS buses is on the decrease, but our buses go on running despite having a little difficulty, especially social distancing. We are carrying out both transport and anti-COVID-19 measures. Some buses are crowded with passengers in morning rush hours. Our bus leaves every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, but the passengers have to take the bus in time. They don't wait 5 minutes to 10 minutes in case they shall be late at work, and at that time, almost buses are crowded with the passengers. In the afternoon, there are 33 seats in the bus, but almost half of the bus is unseated. We are worried about the crowded buses during the rush hours. Bus lines are instructed to make the drivers and the passengers wear masks and use hand gel. Although we have difficulty in social distancing, we are trying to arrange for mask wearing and use of hand gel.
In the past, there were more than 4,400 buses running in Yangon a day, with more than 1 million commuters. Now, more than 3,000 buses are operational with more than 500,000 commuters a day. The YRTA is discussing with governmental officials to reduce the price of CNG as bus line companies are facing less income and fewer passengers, urging the government to hire YBS buses to transport office staff as ferries. Uta Denwe, who is the member of Board of Directors of Power 11 Public Company Limited, he said,
Before COVID-19, a bus earned around 100,000 just a day because it carried about 500 passengers. But now the situation is not the same matter. A bus has to carry 150 to 200 passengers, and its income is about 30 to 40,000 just. Operation cost is of great importance. If we don't receive running costs, it will be impossible to go further. Through the number of passengers becomes many back now, it is still fair to return to normality. Without operational costs, it is impossible to run thousands of buses at a loss. If an operation goes on without a loss or a profit, it will make the employees work less. We are trying like this for ensuring the commuters in safety.
The COVID-19 all of us faced unexpectedly affected all businesses, including transport sector. In spite of being concerted efforts, it is still difficult to return to normal. Most of the commuters hope the buses will run just like it was previously. For example, in the rush hours, the buses should leave narrowing the interval period so that the possibility of being crowded and being infected can be reduced. Dr. Kim Pyong, a commuter from Line Township, said.
Now I'm taking the bus full of passengers in the rush hours, but in the afternoon the bus are not very crowded with the passengers. When the day turns into night, the numbers of buses become fewer. Sometimes I have to wait for the bus for about half an hour. I'm running a tailoring shop in Simla Market and I have to close the shop earlier. The situation has not returned to normality yet.
That's a report on the current bus line operation, which accounts for 70% in Yangon. Well, that's all we have for today's reports. Let's check on international news now. The Ninoy Aquino International Airport, NAIA, said on Saturday the Philippines will resume domestic flights starting on June 1st as the country starts further loosening coronavirus lockdown in its capital Manila and some other parts of the country. However, NAIA said in an advisory, most of the international flights will not be happening in the immediate future due to the travel bans imposed around the world in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. Philippine Airlines, the country's flag carrier, on Saturday announced that it will partially resume international and domestic flights from June, including those from Manila to China's Xiamen, Hong Kong, and Chinese Taipei. The same day, Cebu Pacific Air announced that the company will resume domestic flights starting June 2nd, with international flights continued to be suspended till the end of the month. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency in Los Angeles County, the most populous county in the United States with over 10 million inhabitants, after protests over the killing of George Floyd turned violent on Saturday. Newsom also authorized assistance after a request from the city and country of Los Angeles and will deploy members of the National Guard to assist Los Angeles and neighboring communities, according to a statement released by the governor's office Saturday night. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti announced earlier that a curfew will be in effect in the city beginning from 8 p.m. Saturday to 5:30 a.m. Sunday local time.
This is quite a critical moment as we have just heard about this new move to put a curfew on the entire city of Los Angeles. I mean, remember that we're talking about one of the biggest cities in the country, and the curfew has just taken effect about an hour ago at 8 p.m. local time. So right now, nobody is allowed to leave their homes. Everybody's asked to stay indoors. And I'm not quite sure if you're able to hear, but there is a helicopter hovering above in the skies. We can hear just from our homes. It sounds like it is part of a police operation. We're not sure exactly what they are doing, but we do know that the violence has been concentrated largely in the downtown area, which has started really all the way back since Thursday. I mean, only hours after the death of George Floyd, Los Angeles was one of the major cities that has already seen some protests, but in the beginning these were rather small, peaceful protests. But as the days went by, they gained more momentum and intensity, and in some cases it just led to straight out violence, looting and vandalism. Especially Friday night was a big moment for the city. We've had more than 500 people detained overnight. Now that is a record number for LAPD, for the Los Angeles Police Department, mass arresting people in a single night. That's the highest numbers we have seen in recent years.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has wished children nationwide a happy International Children's Day, which falls on June 1st. Xi expressed his hope that children can study hard, strengthen their ideals and beliefs, and develop strong bodies and minds to get prepared for realizing the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. Xi noted that children nationwide have gone through a special period during the country's fight against COVID-19 as Chinese people of all ethnic groups united as one. In other news, anti-racism protests are spreading beyond the borders of the United States, with protesters gathering in Black Lives Matter demonstrations in countries including Canada, the UK, Germany, and Denmark. The marches came as a nationwide anti-racism protest triggered by George Floyd's death broke out in the United States. A police officer was seen in the footage of an amateur video pressing his knee on the neck of George Floyd, an unarmed male African-American, for several minutes, although the latter had been arrested, handcuffed, and pinned to the ground. The 46-year-old man later died, sparking a nationwide protest in the country. So far, protests have erupted in at least 30 U.S. cities. A total of 25 cities in 16 U.S. states have imposed curfews. Astronauts Robert Behnken and Douglas Hurley successfully disembarked the SpaceX Crew Dragon space capsule and entered the International Space Station. SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft docked at the space station at 10:16 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday morning after launching from Florida's Kennedy Space Center Saturday and traveling 19 hours. After making initial contact with the ISS, the Crew Dragon went through a series of steps to further mate the spacecraft with its port, including linking power and creating an airlocked seal before first of two hatches were opened. Behnken and Hurley are expected to remain on board the space station for 1 to 3 months. Well, that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zinn. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you again. Goodbye.